I'm Marin Alsop, and I'm the Principal Guest Conductor of London's Philharmonia Orchestra, and I'm thrilled to be participating in this wonderful season. My first program features Mahler, but not just the Mahler you know. I'm starting the program with a movement from his first symphony that is often not included in the symphony, so I'm creating an overture out of it. It's called Blumine, and it's very lyrical. It's a beautiful trumpet solo. It really creates an atmosphere, I think, of where he liked to compose always in the summer times. It's quite interesting because it shows us a different side of Gustav Mahler. I think a very soft side and a very tender side, and I wanted to pair that with the songs by Alma Mahler, his wife. And it's quite interesting because these songs are very sophisticated harmonically. They're really, really beautiful songs. And, you know, I think it goes to the heart of relationships and connecting, because Mahler didn't want his wife to compose until she started having an affair, and he went to chat with Sigmund Freud, who said, I guess he must have said, why don't you encourage her to be her creative self? I think it was tragic that he didn't encourage her to continue composing, that she had to take a back seat to him, you know, the creator. Although it was a relationship that was fraught with issues, it was one of the iconic love stories of all time. The Fifth Symphony was written during a very intimate moment in their relationship, and I wanted to pair it with her songs on this program because that relationship, she as a composer, he as a composer, really is, it's really a linchpin in how their relationship develops and the problems they have and the challenges they have to overcome. So I felt that together they really give us a snapshot into this special relationship. And of course the Fifth Symphony features the Adagietto, which is really Mahler's love letter to Alma. You know, I think as a woman in this field, it's always fascinating to me how women were held back, and women of extraordinary talent like Alma Mahler. And when you hear these songs, you hear that her harmonic language is almost more sophisticated than Gustav Mahler's language. And yet, we rarely hear her music. I don't think I've ever heard it performed in Vienna. So I'll have to change that.